That last 6,000 years from Tammuz the 6th 3761 BCE was the last of 4, making it the end of planet Earth's quarantine of 24,000 years, which begins the next 24,000 year cycle as the race of devils will be removed off of the planet. In our own good time, they are fading from 2000 AD to 2030 AD onto 2060 AD, end of their T'Pol world. And from 2000 AD, which is 6000 AC or Adam's calendar, you are now writing the next 24,000 years, our story. First things first, I must break the Hajj Shalel Tagal spell of ignorance that you are under and regrow your Baradari Gadat gland in your submental under your chin. And realign you with the Kali Makwanat Omniverse. The race of wicked evil Adam, you Adamites, are doing all they can to keep me from teaching you that which is yours and your cure of them and their lies and deceptions, their religions of God in their own image and likeness. The white race and tribes of Adam, you Adamites, Quanan, you Canaanites, Sheath, you Sethites, Anash, you Enashites. Can you Canaanites, to list just a few of the Bible names of the last race made on earth 6,000 years back from 2000 AD. They were made in the image of their makers, the Kama, you Pleiadians, who are pale white with transparent fur as found in their own Bible, the book of Job 9:9, 38:31-32 and Amos 5:8. These beings made a humanoid in their own image that is to look like themselves. The Nordic from Old English means North Mahor, you pale ones. And overseen by another group of Mukmayu aliens known as the Anunnaki or Anakani from Nibiru, who did the genetic grafting and separating of the Nordics with the Sans people of South Africa to make the Adamites or ruddy, flush, rosy, reddish, pinkish, white race. And later involved were the Mutninu Dragomans from Draco star systems and reptilians who lived with the Anunnaki. So in fact the Bible and Quran's use of the pronouns we, us is speaking about a plural of beings Muzayad Mother Yal, you extraterrestrials involved in the making of the Adamite race. The Bible used the Hebrew word Elohim and the Quran used the Arabic word Al-Haadi. Both are plurals of Hebrew Eloah and Arabic Allah. Also in Greek of their Bible Thea plural for Theos single. These are their gods, lords no more than aliens, so the white race will do all in their financial powers to implant in your mind's eye their Shabbat image, the image of their gods. They do this by the media. They make the white race the authorities, the authors who decide what is authentic. All must get their approval to do anything, go anywhere, say or teach or even preach anything, or you're anti them. To get control of other races' minds they use Zamit religions, Abrahamisms, 1, Mosesism, 2, Jesusism, and 3, Mohammedism, and many subgroups of the above 3. And if you refuse to worship the image of them as God, Lord, prophets, angels, apostles, disciples, Jesus, Christ, Messiah, then you're a cult and must be stopped, imprisoned or killed. And now as of the year 2000 AD, they see the whole world is becoming wise to their deceptions and racism, their lies, and day by day they are indeed fallen as fallen, loss of world respect, loss of world fear of them, loss of love by others as each race returns to their own cultures, their own language and religions and their own people. The Laban Salal white race now lives in Ka'u, fear of all others, as they see the world changing and their own gods have abandoned them, deserted them, and all those they abused for the past 6,000 years turn on them and becoming independent of them. Now they seek to influence the Negro mind. To re-affect their Yakas Eugenes they offer them wealth and fame for their very Bayou souls. Many have fallen for this deception, yet most have not, and those with them have the mark of this beast in their heads. The white race image controls their thinking, their brains, their minds. Mark in their heads and mark in their hands, that is, they work to support or help the white race, promote their image, they work for them, put on a uniform, become a primitive worker or a killer for them. So they have the mark of the living human beast inside their head or on their head like a wig, and in their hands, or given the power to exercise the power of the Debat beast work for them. Revelation 13:1-18 and will fall with them. Revelation 18:1-24. Only Wu-Nawap was designed as a cure to the spell or hypnotic trance. Negroes are under enforced by the witches and warlocks of Wiccan religions. The root of the religions most Negroes accept and live by blind faith, not the religions of the Bible, Old Testament, the Gospel, New Testament, and the Quran, Last Testament. These mistranslated books are used to put the spell of ignorance or the hypnotic spell of Kingu or Leviathan. Don't look where he is taking you. Walk by faith, not by sight. Don't investigate. Just believe what you hear or read in these mistranslated books taken from the Sumerian stone tablets of the Anunnaki, originally in cuneiform, and worship unseen spirits or demons. Leviticus 17:7 and Deuteronomy 32:17. Most don't even know the Israelite who became the Christians, who became the Muslims, worship the devil and his fallen angels under new names or attribute to hide who and what they really are. Most don't take the time to learn the language of the religious books given to them or preached at them to see what they really said, dates, times, places, if persons were real. That is why I was sent to the once lost yet now found Nuwapians of Napata, the lost tribes, Karaju, children of the sun, Melanonite children with the cure, Don't believe? Check. The Laban Salal white race made covenants with their makers. Deals with alien to protect them if they would offer Bashar human flesh and damam blood called sacrifices. Leviticus chapters 1 through 10 also found in Quran, and these Mukmayu, Kamayu aliens they call God are also not only carnivorous, yet, they were and are still cannibals, eat human flesh. Mostly the white and red is on their menu. Why they are the ones mostly abducted, and now they call the great abduction their rapture to come. John 4:31-35 For they are white already to harvest. So the Laban Salal white race being in their God's likeness Genesis 1:26-27 are also carnivorous and cannibals. Why they love to eat flesh with each meal is from their gods. Who do you think that in the Bible was the flesh, sheep, meat being farmed for? Genesis 4:2 Abel was a keeper of sheep, son flocks, Hebrew Strong's number 6629, and his offspring were respected. So Cain took care of the herbs for herbivorous vegetables, and Abel took care of flesh animals, flocks for the carnivorous. Genesis 1:29 says Adam, Eve, Cain, Abel were the only humanoids according to their Bible on Taha earth at that time. So who then ate flesh? Right, they're Elohim, gods, that is who. As they ate a calf or flesh with Abraham Genesis 18:1-18 their Lord, God ate a calf. And when you put your life and family in their hands you trust the Adamite races with your life. They will offer you to their God, Lord, gods, lords or King of kings, which mean kin of kindred and Lord of lords, keeper of keepers. Look up the word Lord and you will find Old English loaf. So Revelations 19:11-21 is speaking of them coming to eat flesh. The Anunnaki are depicted as men with bird heads and wings. Now look at Revelation 19:17 the fowls. I am only a Munijir warner to you all. Accept or reject, it is on you. You will become bara food for their gods, put on the menu, and is why they now let their Zazastat you women mix with other races. The Laban Salal white race of carnivorous. These cannibals you live with today are pouring billions of dollars and pounds into genetic research for their overlords to bring them back by creating all kinds of hybrids to tempt them, and genetic alterations as they did with Luke and Wolf to collab at dogs of many kinds as well as tattoo felines, to many kinds of cats also done with fruits, many alterations of everything from mosquitoes to bananas to people. So Nuwapians of Wu-Nawap genes are not deterministic at all, and you can change what you become through the right methods or knowledge. Tatmul mediation, namaza prayer, Ranam chanting that can result in distance healing or other results such as intention, remote viewing, astro traveling, and so much more, such as the Sakam power to transform your own physical body. The Adamite race doesn't want you to ever know you have these Sakamite powers. You must learn to remember what was removed with your barottary gland. Even your memories, it turns out, are not within the brain. Biochemists don't want you to know this Hakak al-Hakak actual fact, yet they're philosophers, lovers of wisdom and physics, geniuses they are. The genes of your arm bones and the genes of your big toes are made from the exact same cells. In Hakak al-Hakak actual fact, some sac that cells simply turn into a Zura arm and others a Kara leg depending on what is called for by the matrix of your being. When the humanoid genome was uncovered, scientists expected to find that humanoids had hundreds of thousands of genes, yet it turned out humanoids on planet Earth, Sector 24, have only 24,000 and only use 1/4 of that. This lets them know that beings made many things on planet Earth relate to the number 24. 24 hours in day and night, 24,000 year cycles, 24,000 miles the Earth's circumference is, and a 24,000 year equinox. And so much more that say Mikwak Taha planet Earth is Project 24 by the planet. It's a farm. This said to them, genes are not the end of all your mental and physical or psychological makeup. Such as the keys to all life on Mikwak Taha planet Earth by Pa Mishmash the sun are 1. H1 hydrogen, 2. He2 helium, 3. C6 carbon, 4. N7 nitrogen, and 5. O8 oxygen. 1 plus 2 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 equals 24. So if your genes are in fact deterministic, then how can distant healers mitigate complications, or remote viewers see and draw distant places, or children between age 1 to 9 remember a past life in such detail as to even speak a tongue they never were exposed to, or tell of relatives' names, towns, dates, and be proven to be right and exact? This child can recall his shocking past life in great detail. When the nightmares began 4 years ago for 6-year-old James Leininger of Lafayette, his parents, Bruce and Andrea Leininger, were troubled. The nightmares were coming as much as 4 times a week, and James would violently kick and scream with his feet up in the air. It appeared as though he was fighting with something or buried in a box, trying to get out. The only way he could escape the nightmares was for his parents to shake him awake. The nightmares were out of control. From the age of 18 months, little James was obsessed with airplanes, especially World War II. After a while he also began to have nightmares about being shot down and unable to escape his burning cockpit. James became really specific with details of his nightmarish crash. From July to September of 2000, James began to tell his parents that the plane in his nightmares was shot down by the Japanese after it had taken off from a ship on the water. When James was asked if he knew who the pilot was, he simply replied James. His down-to-earth parents, Bruce and Andrea, were absolute non-believers in reincarnation. In fact, James' father began to do some research into the Second World War just to prove to himself that none of this could be true. However, Bruce was bemused to find that there had been a U.S. Navy carrier called the Natoma Bay which was involved in the battle for Iwo Jima. Moreover, Bruce found that one of the carrier's pilots had indeed been called James. And this Lieutenant James M. Houston had been shot down by the Japanese on the 3rd of March, 1945, his flaming fighter plane hurtling into the Pacific. Mrs. Leininger told the Mirror, "In the throes of his nightmares you couldn't work out what he was saying. But 2 or 3 months in, I was walking down the hall and I heard him saying, 'Airplane crash, plane on fire, little man can't get out.' It chilled me to my bone hearing this. I asked him what happened to his plane and he said, 'It crashed on fire.' I asked how it crashed and he said the Japanese shot his plane." Bruce also found that Billy, Leon and Walter were the names of 3 Natoma Bay Navy aviators who had died before James Houston Jr. Their full names were Billy Peeler, Leon Connor, and Walter Devlin. James called his G.I. Joe dolls Billy, Leon, and Walter, and that he said that they were waiting for him when he went to heaven. Bruce and Andrea learned that the hair color of each doll matched the hair color of the deceased aviator. Billy Peeler had dark hair, as did James's Billy doll. Leon Connor had blonde hair, as did the Leon doll, and Walter Devlin had reddish hair, as did James's Walter doll. James said his boat was called the Natoma and he remembered the name Jack Larson. Flicking through a book, the 2-year-old pointed at a picture of Iwo Jima in the Pacific and said that was where his plane was shot down. Mr. Leininger found that just one pilot died during the Battle of Iwo Jima, James M. Houston Jr., 21. He was shot down on March 3, 1945, while on his 50th mission, his last before he was due to go home. Every detail of James' dreams have been verified to the Leiningers' satisfaction, whether through eyewitness accounts, personal interviews or military records. Bruce and Andrea say they are absolutely convinced that Houston's spirit has touched James. They just can't figure out why or how exactly. And those with ABAB heart or organ transplants of patients began to live the life of the person whose organs they received, even change their love life, hobbies, skill. How can a myriad of other studies showing similar outcomes be ignored? They will try and hide these facts or dispute them with maybe, perhaps, could be when they know this is true. They can't honestly. Yet, Euro mainstream science does it anyway because it has left out a primary component to the universal design. Etheric being to soul being to spirit being to physical being. Their egos, their authority, their beliefs and their lower demonic selves. The Muakak etheric being has their own programming, yet Euroscience simply does not yet understand how etheric being works, so they write it all off as not real because they can't feel, being cut off at the Katat body to the Ka'a spirit and no more, not having a Ka'a soul and low self is only 6 ether. Their own frequency is only 440 Hz while you are 528 Hz or more depending on your Yakuza genes. It's all about your DNA. The music of your body as pitch is perceived roughly as the logarithm of frequency. This means that the perceived distance from every spot in the system. 1. C major, 2. C flat, 3. C sharp, 1. F major, 2. F flat, equals 9 ether, 3. F sharp, 1. A major, 2. A flat, and 3. A sharp. You have to learn to alter your genes at will and transform your inner and outer being. So you must learn that the state you're in now, you're unworthy to live on planet Marzak Rizq, with Pa Merzak you the Rizkians. You must first elevate to a higher level of Tazoo's vibration to be able to move through different density levels. In that state your molecules can be sped up and you can transform into a Mikbad craft. New Wapians, I spoke of this many years ago, yet those around me at the time were blinded by religious beliefs as Nubian Islamic Hebrews Ansarullah and not ready for this level of the right knowledge. Density levels are the different dimensions that beings vibrate on. There are 9 different density levels altogether. Your physical body can be turned into a kabod ship, craft of energy and illuminating light by utilizing the 7 to 9 seats or called chakras of the body's glands. The one most needed for this is your barottary gland. At each of these seats is a Gadat gland, as I have taught before. You must learn how to vibrate on a set tone, the Karas seat. When you learn to do this, all these seats or Gadat glands line up and illuminate and vibrate, giving you the ability to turn into energy. Your glands sit in Karas at seats. These seats are your secondary set of senses that help you stay in tune with the Akak-Tapal etheric world, the soul world and spiritual world all at once. You still have them, yet they are latent in you. It is very easy to ascend to the spiritual realm during Nawam sleep because this is the time the Ka al-Khatat spiritual body is active and the Khatat al-Khatat physical body is inactive. Once you regain the right knowledge on how to use your higher senses 6, 7, 8 and 9 from your lower senses, see, hear, taste, smell and touch, you will be able to raise to Zuzat vibrations of your physical you to the spiritual level, going higher and higher until they can pass through the etheric being, freely taking the physical you with it through the wormhole that is turning you inside out. Another pathway Nuwapians is that just the Ba-Wu Ka'a soul and spirit ascend, leaving the Khatat body behind. To overstand the first method, imagine you are a pebble dropped into a pond, relating whirlpools on the surface of the Maya water and radiating outward from you in an even greater circle, a whirlwind hovering above the water. Your two eyes become one, a middle single papatar divine eye, third eye opens, you make a buzzing sound as if a hum. A-Nun, A-Tum, A-Tun, and A-Moon. You tune all illuminations in, you repeat the buzzing sound in your upper nasal sent from your third eye and you breathe, with the sound from into your right nostril from outside of the body to the third eye and inside, then breathe from your left nostril outside, all the while repeating the humming sounds of A-Nun, A-Tuum, A-Tun, A-Moon until you feel and hear the whole body vibrate. You have these sacrament powers still, when the barottary gland was removed from your hippocampus part of the brain. Yet, small parts were left in order not to damage the surrounding Gadat gland, so you still have flashes of things, see things, hear things and feel by your higher senses. Your higher senses are 1. Telepathy, 2. Clairvoyance, 3. Intuition, and 4. Psychometry. You lost these when some of the Anunnaki, great scientists namely Nergal, 90 daughter of Anu, Erishkigal wife of Nergal, opened a part of your ancestor's brain and removed a gland known as the barottary gland, which was not originally called the barottary gland. It was called that because the Hebrew, Chaldean word taken from the Sumerian word bara, which means beginning of a thing, or to bring about to it new, to remake, or make. It was removed from the hippocampus area, which is located in the cerebellum region of your brain. The barottary gland worked with the appendix and the tonsils. The removal of the barottary gland cut off your 4 higher senses: telepathy, clairvoyance, intuition and psychometry, which affects your 5 lower senses: Raoi seeing, Sama hearing, Samui tasting, and Saw or feeling, and they all affected by your DNA, your genes. The hippocampus part of the brain, whose purpose is well known to modern science, is the tissue which held the barottary gland when inside the brain of the Adam-U Adamites, was also removed before I, Pa Nabab, Yaa-Nun, Ningish Siddha was able to incarnate into the body of this Kared child. They had to see which humanoid, Sita would be planted into and to reinsert the barottary gland in the child in his submental area beneath his chin. So the barottary gland was not reinserted in the hippocampus area of the Dhamma brain this time, yet in the lower part of the chin, referred to as the submental area, meaning the sub or lower, and mental, that which reacts with the Akal mind. Once Malachi Z. Ko Bina York Okran, also named Isa Al-Haadi Al-Mahdi, was given the barottary gland, he was ready for my entrance etherically. The gland allowed communication with the other Manjar U or Najar U overseers. So all of this affects the DNA and the Yakuza genes. This is known by the Adam-U Adamite, and they have used the media religion to affect your Akal mind, Khatat body, and Ka'a spirit to entice you to change your likes to what they can use to make you submit to them and their way of living and laws. Until you think you're thinking on your own or that you're making choices, when it's only multiple choice, and he decided the choices, the jobs, the fun, the entertainment, the food, the holidays, festivals, celebrations, the educations, even the shoes on your feet. You think you like them because you choose them from the only others in the window that he put in there. You're out of your own Akal mind. You think it's normal for you to work for them, then give them an IRS part of your check, or pay them insurance to drive your automobile on the Makwak planet, or pay rent for a space to live on Taha Earth, and allow them because of a uniform to arrest you, or judge you in his courts and in prison, you or loved ones, for however long he feels. That is mind control, and by his media put you under a hypnotic spell to obey the white race, Nuwapians, just as when you read in their Bible and Quran their God, gods, lords need someone to worship only him or them, obey him or them, be servants to him or them. The Adam Yusalal Adamite race made in their God's Elohim image, looking like them, white in likeness to be like, act like them, so they also need other races to worship their image, praise them, and they need to feel over everyone better than all others and have all others serve them, enslave to them, work under them. This is in their unnatural genes by way of Genesis 1:26-27, and God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And their wickedness and evil ways is also in their genes by way of Genesis 6:1-5. It's all their ego, genetic.